He's as white as snow. All right. Don't know why I was just singing Mary Had a Little Lamb, but I was. Welcome into the rant. I am Pugs Moran. Happy Friday to you, live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios on the beautiful south side of Chicago. We're going to run through some current events, some hot topics, and stuff like that. Please come one, come all. Join the chat room, if you will. We've still got an opening here. Next person who posts in the chat room is going to be third on the podium because we've got two. You know what? That's it. Two. We're just doing two today. That's it. First and second place. Here's how the podium lines up today. In first place, I believe this is a first time across the checkered flag. That was, hold on. Yeah. All right. That was fun. The mics went off for a second because that happens all the time. They'll just turn off, but we caught it. All right. Anyway, back to the podium. There we go. Now we've got our full podium as people begin to fill into the chat room. Live streaming's most cordial chat room. At least we'll say that because there's only like 10 of you. And, you don't really, when there's only 10 of you, you can't really be an asshole. For one thing, when you say something assholio-ish, when you only have like 10 people in the chat room, it just stays there. It just stays there. Like if this was a happening show, if people like this show and it was something that was, worth spending time on, you wouldn't be able to read the horrible comments in the chat room because everything would go zhung, 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 you know what I mean? Like that, right? But here with us, added bonus, you say something shitty, it's just gonna fucking hang there all day. And you just got to look at it. So beware. I think that's why we have a good chat room. I think people recognize that. Anyway, let's give our flowers to the podium participants. Just like in the F1 world, we like to award first, second, and third place today. First time across the checkered flag, Kevin Barber. Look at him, my boy, KB. He and I go back to freshman year of high school. Congratulations, man. First place. I love it. Second place, War Devil. That's right, War Devil comes through in second place. That's Byron. And in third place, I knew this wouldn't. I was like, Auntie April. Auntie April's in third place. She belongs there. I was like, where's April? Where is everybody? Taronda. We don't award fourth place, but here comes Taronda. All right. So congratulations to Kevin. War Devil. I almost forgot War Devil again. Why can't I remember War Devil? That's too cool a nickname for Byron. I'm sorry. Not that Byron doesn't deserve a cool nickname, but my point is, it's almost like he used to be the Dark Lord, but now War Devil. I don't know. I like that we stumbled across that phrase a couple of weeks ago, and it just I don't know. I think it's a cool name. Like, how come there are no sports teams called the War Devils? Wouldn't that be? Maybe there are. I bet there are. Let's do that right now. Let's see if there are any sports teams called the War Devils. Hi AI. Are there any sports teams called the War Devils? All right. Here we go. No. Wow. Huh. There are no prominent professional or major college sports teams named the War Devils. However, if you're thinking of a team with a similar fierce-sounding name, you might be thinking these famous sports squads. No, I'm not. I'm not thinking of the New Jersey Devils or the Arizona State Sun Devils. War Devils, that's a pretty good name, I gotta say. I don't know. Any of you want to open up a new college or something? War Devils. There's a lot. Is there a lot of opening of new colleges that have full-blown athletic programs and sports teams that need a cool nickname? I don't know. Isn't there like some place in Florida, some college in Florida that didn't exist before like 2015 and now is like, because some billionaire went, I'm going to start a college. It's not University of Central Florida. I think that's fine. Is it like Coastal Carolina University? I don't know. There's something All right, you know what? This is what AI is for. You don't ever have to lose sleep. You know how it used to be? You'd be thinking of something while you're laying in bed and you're like, oh, I can't remember. And that would cause you to lose sleep. Don't have to do that anymore because of AI. AI is bad. Don't get me wrong. It's ultimately bad. But for, now, all right. Is there a university that was built by a billionaire recently? And now it's a thing. Okay. So I don't know if AI is going to be able to interpret that. I don't know what. All right. So here's what it says. You are likely thinking University of Austin, a private college in Texas that has been making massive waves in the news. The school was founded in 2021 by a group of high-profile venture capitalists, academics, and journalists, including Joe Lonsdale and Barry Weiss. Ugh, all right, never mind. It's backed by billionaires. Some guy named Jeff Yass alone dropped $100 million donation. What makes it different? Do you guys know about? Okay, we're stumbling on things. I was thinking of like some crazy billionaire on the East Coast that, bought a college and now suddenly it's, giving out scholarships and stuff. Never mind. Forget about that. I'm more interested now in this University of Austin thing, which I've never heard of, but it's kind of like the college version of one of those Twitter handles that looks like a newspaper, right? You know what I mean? Like it's like, it'll be like the Philadelphia Chronicle, right? I think it's Philadelphia Examiner, right? But Chronicle sounds like it could be a real newspaper too. So they do stuff like that. Philadelphia Chronicle, and then it's just some guy just writing bullshit that looks like news, but your aunt believes it and she sends it to you. And then you fight about it at Thanksgiving. Anyway, is that what this University of Austin is? Because that sounds like a real college. It sounds like a real college. But then you get Barry Weiss involved in some billionaire. And all right, what makes it different? It says here there's zero tuition. Communist? Are you kidding me? What is this, a socialist college? What do you mean zero? How are we going to ensure that only the best people continue to lead us if we allow people to get educated for free? We can't allow the poors to be educated for free. What if the poors learn stuff? We don't need that. Education is for wealthy people who can pay for it, and that's how you prove that you're deserving of the education if you can pay for it. Zero tuition at the University of Austin. That's thanks to a $100 million gift. The school launched a campaign to make undergraduate tuition permanently free for its students. A major condition of the billionaire's funding is that the university refuses to accept any federal or state funding, aiming to stay completely free from government oversight. Okay. I'm not up on these issues. I don't know if that's like a big problem or what their crazy reasoning is for I will not accept any government. I don't know. I'm not that deep in the woods on this. The campus, instead of a sprawling historic campus, which is kind of the draw for most people when they go to college, right? Beautiful campus. Otherwise, you're just going to Robert Morris online, which there's nothing wrong with that. A degree is a degree, I suppose. But I'm just saying, the college experience is about a campus. All right, so University of Austin doesn't, the campus is different. Instead of a sprawling historic campus, it operates out of a converted former department store in downtown Austin. Okay. Well, it better be free. Come on, man. That's weird. Is it weird though? I went to a college in Chicago, Columbia, which is a downtown college, and it occupies a number of downtown office buildings. I mean, it's a campus. It's an urban campus. It's not just like a closed out Montgomery Wards or Sears store. Is it like in a mall? Did you see the Righteous Gemstones? They opened up a mega church in a closed down Sears that anchored a mall. And so the whole mall was closed, but the Righteous Gemstones had this big mega church that used to be the Sears. Is that what this is like? Is it like some mall outside? Well, I guess they said it's a downtown Austin thing. So there's no campus at the University of Austin. By the way, I'm continuing to read this because I have a kid who's going to be going to college. And, my attention was grabbed at free tuition. So let me read on. Instead of a sprawling historic campus, the University of Austin operates out of a converted former department store in downtown Austin. Accreditation status. So I guess this is the most important thing, although not really if you're not paying anything. Accreditation status. Because it is so brand new, it is currently uncredited. Cannot receive official accreditation until its first class actually graduates. All right, whatever. All right, there you go. That's not what I was thinking of, but we just fell down a bunny hole and I learned about a crazy person, a new crazy person college being run by Barry Weiss and some billionaire. By the way, there was also another paragraph that I failed to read that had something to do with Elon Musk. So apparently he's dumping some cash into the University of Austin. Get yourself an unaccredited and free education while picking up some socks at the old Sears store. All right. We won't waste any more time with that. Who do we have in here? Let's say hi to our chat room. I already awarded the platform. We had the first 3 people in, just like Formula One. It was Kevin, Byron, a.k.a. War Devil, and, of course, Anti-April. Taronda's here. I did it again. I did it with the fat fingers. I don't know how to do this. Or do I? Nope. No, geez. The fat fingers. I need a bigger keyboard. I have little fingers. There, I don't know what to say. All right, back to the chat room. Let's give out some flowers. Hey, it's good to see my friend Al. It's good to see Barney. It's good to Laura the artist. Well, I don't know who Laura the artist is, but welcome, young lady. If I am to believe you are who is presented in your profile picture, young lady, welcome. Mikey D is here. What do you say, Mikey D? Hey, where's Peter, Ben? Where I didn't see Peter yesterday. I don't see Peter today. Keep a track of the chickens. You know, you're all my little chickens. And where's Peter? Peter's not crazy either. Like with some of you chickens, you go missing, and then I'm like, yeah, they're missing because they're probably into some nonsense. We know who we're talking about. But not Peter. I think Peter is a relatively, well, not relatively good. He's a good dude. And he's here every day. Is he on vacation? Fingers crossed for him and Kim. They're on vacation. They're having fun. They don't need this nonsense. All right. What do we want to talk about here? Let's get into some stuff, okay? Here's the big story today. By the way, the big story yesterday and today is still the Venezuelan earthquake. Terrible, terrible. 2 of them, big ones, 7+ on the Richter scale. Just the missing people is really troubling. There are thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people who are unaccounted for. I know what you're saying. You're like, Pugs, it's Venezuela. I know. Like, I don't know if like those people. I don't know if like, you know, is it a third world country? I think of it as a third world country. I mean, I don't think of it as like, you know, anything similar to the society of America, which might be good because American society is a little bit whack at the moment. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I think like in Venezuela, if you wanted to kill a guy in the street, you could probably get away with it. That's just what I think of Venezuela. So when I hear all these people are missing, I know that the numbers probably have been inflated because, you know, maybe a lot of people there how many people there don't even have like drivers? How many people there aren't even accounted for to begin with? I don't know. Anyway, it's terrible. And, what can you say? It's earthquakes. It's God. If there is a God, it's Mother Nature at the very least. Terrible situation in Venezuela. Keep a good thought. John Bolton today. This is the story that I woke up to. John Bolton, former national security advisor to President Trump, and a dude who is also former U.S. representative to the United Nations, an organizational body that he has spent the last 50 years of his life trying to tear down. So, of course, the first Trump administration made him our representative to it, which is wild. Not even trying to send somebody to get something done. Legitimately just got a guy who was going to go and be a wrench in the system. John Bolton is not liked by anybody. And when he was sucked into the whole MAGA world back in the first term, 2016 to 2020, he even pissed them off. He's just not a likable guy. And he did some things. So what did he do? He pled guilty today in federal court of I don't know exactly what he pled guilty to. Here's what he's being accused of. remember a couple of years ago when it was just all the rage to get former people who worked in former administrations, caught on having documents in their kitchen or whatever. I think they did something to Biden. They certainly did something to Trump. Well, they also did it to Bolton. Bolton got raided by the FBI, his home and his office, and they took a whole bunch of stuff out. And it turns out that he had some classified materials that he wasn't allowed to have. Now, where is this different? Well, actually, I shouldn't say different because I'm not even going to jump into what the situation surrounding the Trump Mar-a-Lago stuff or the Biden in his garage stuff. I don't care about that. Those are presidents, whatever. Screw it. But this guy, John Bolton, he pled guilty today to this. And I don't know if we're not hearing a lot of screaming from the center or the left about this being political persecution, because he's a big Trump critic now. He hates Trump. He's the guy that goes on TV and goes, "You people have no idea how stupid this man is," right? And that's John Bolton. He really gets under Trump's skin. You're not hearing a lot of, this is a case of, this actually seems like this dude should do jail time. For me, looking at the details of what John Bolton did and what he pled guilty to today, yeah, he should absolutely face jail time. He's not a violent criminal, but this is some borderline treasonous and definitely not good for the defense of America thing that he did. Okay, what did he do? So when John Bolton was in the Trump White House, he was a national security advisor, and he had the president's ear. And he's also a really big war hawk. You have to know this about John Bolton going all the way back. And when I say hawk, he's not just hawkish like for the greater good. He believes that American military power should be used to impose the American will anywhere in the world that it feels it should. John Bolton's kind of a tyrant. Like, he didn't give a fuck about human rights and all that kind of stuff. He thinks we've got the biggest club on the block and that we should use it against people. That's always been his thing. Very controversial guy. Used to be very well liked within the hawkish Republican right. But, he's a man without a home now. So here's what he did. While he was advising Trump, he would take notes during intelligence briefings that, he was the head of, but other people, experts, analysts and stuff would come in and they would do the briefings. And Bolton would take these notes. He then had you know what? Here, let me read you the exact details because it's really sloppy. And it's like, why did you do that? All right. So it's called the diary scheme. Okay. This is what prosecutors have sort of hung on him. He had a diary where he was taking in real-time notes of highly classified intelligence briefings to the president. Now, he was the director of national intelligence at the time or something, some big title like that. Anyway, so you would think that he's allowed to know this, but he's not allowed to take notes and then do something else with those notes from a meeting that is being held under the most heavily of classified type situations. Well, I guess not, because they'd be in a skiff if it was super classified. But this is an Oval Office briefing. You can't take notes, or you can, but you can't do what he did. And what did he do? While serving as national security advisor, Bolton took detailed handwritten notes of daily intelligence briefings, meetings with foreign leaders, and covert action plans. He then typed them up into a diary-like entry for a future book memoir. So what he was doing was he was taking notes while in these classified meetings, then going to his office. Because remember, at this point in his tenure, if you will, with the Trump administration, he knew that everybody hated him. He knew he wasn't going to be around. So this son of a bitch was already working on a book. This guy decided that he would take these notes in these classified meetings, and then he would go to his office, open up his Google Drive, and then just put these highly classified notes in there. He transmitted over 1,000 pages of these sensitive notes, some containing top secret or SCI data. Security. That stands for, I don't care. He sent these then to his wife and daughter who were helping him with the book. So wife and daughter, just housewife and like, I need something to do, daddy, right? That's, those two. He is sending these notes from his like Google Drive. Hold on. Sorry. He's sending these notes, these highly classified notes that are never supposed to even leave the Oval Office. He's sending them via Google Drive, or actually it says AOL, which is so beautiful because it's so on brand for John Bolton to still have an AOL address, So he would take these notes, put them in his diary, and then send them to his wife and daughter who were working with him on this book. Okay. Now, that's probably, well, here, let me read this. It says he would send these top secret notes to his wife and daughter via unsecured personal AOL and Google email accounts. In emails, he allegedly warned them, none of this we talk about. All right. So in capitals, it says here, apparently in one of these notes, he told his wife and daughter, none of this we talk about, right? So this is all, he knew himself that this was secret stuff that he was sending through AOL or through Google. To the extent that one of his relatives, not named here, replied, shh. All right, so everybody involved knew that this was shady. And it probably would never have been a big deal, except the one thing happened. The one thing that people say, well, this is why you don't do it. Here's the one reason why you don't send these kinds of notes. Yeah, Iranian hackers targeted John Bolton. John Bolton should know. He should have like the highest of security. He should understand that people are. But no, John Bolton sent this stuff to his wife and his daughter and told them to be quiet about it and help me put the book together. So the Iranian hack, you might remember this. This happened between, it says 2019 and 2021, but I thought it was like a one-off thing. I get my hacks confused. Like there's good hacks, like the North Korean hack of Sony that gave us all those great naked pictures of actresses. What do they call it? The fappening? It's like a whole... Remember? Okay, so Seth Rogen and Sony Pictures made a movie that made fun of the North Korean dictator, Kim Jong-un. And so North Korea sent their hackers against Sony Pictures, and the hackers got in there, and they not only got into Sony, but they got into like all of these Sony celebrities' phones and stuff, and then started releasing all these naughty pictures. The fappening. Seriously, if you think I'm kidding and you're unfamiliar, just go to whatever search engine is your favorite. Mine is the one that provides the best picture format. I would choose that one. Go to your favorite search engine that has a good picture format and just put in the fappening. You'll see. You'll see. You'll see. Anyway, the Iranian hack happened between 2019 and 2021. Iranian government hackers breached Bolton's unsecured personal email, exposing the classified notes. Bolton reported the hack to the FBI, but did not tell them. He kept them in the dark about the fact that top secret national security data had been exposed. So there you have it. That's what he did. He's a dummy. He was all for a book, all for self-aggrandizement. The book was released. The book came out. And today he pled guilty. They brought the charges. In 2025, they raided last October, I believe it is. They raided his home and his office. Only because the Iranians hacked him and made it all public. And the FBI was like, oh, we ought to look into that. Although Trump hates Bolton so much, I bet you Trump was like, yes, good one, boys. So anyway, they go after Bolton. And today he pled guilty. And he could be looking at jail time. I mean, he really did do, this isn't made up. This isn't, all right, I don't even want to get into the other accusations about Mar-a-Lago or about Biden's garage or any of that shit. This is legitimately stuff that he felt was important that he learned of in highly classified meetings with the president. He then shared them with his two civilians, his wife and his daughter, via AOL and Google accounts. And of course, the Iranians hacked and learned all of this intelligence. It's not political persecution. John Bolton is hated by everyone equally. And guess what? Sometimes bad guys get what's coming to them. And today he pled guilty, and hopefully he'll go to jail. Yes, this all stems from last October when a federal grand jury indicted him on 18 counts, 10 for retention of national defense information. He originally pled not guilty and called it a political vendetta, as they always do. I didn't do nothing wrong. Yeah. Look, many things can be right. This might be a political vendetta, and you might have actually done something wrong, and this whole thing might be legitimate, and, you screwed yourself. Like, you can be vengeful, but actually have the cards to win the poker game. You know what I mean? Like, you get it? Like it could be. It's not an absurd prosecution. It's a legitimate prosecution, but the prosecutors, especially at the behest of President Trump, were probably supercharged into doing it, is my point. What's he looking at? Bolton formally appeared in a Maryland federal courthouse this morning and pled guilty to a single retention charge. He faces a recommended cap of 5 years in prison, a $2.25 million fine, and has been stripped of his federal retirement annuity. Sentencing is set for October 28th. All right. Let's see here. That's I think it's an American win, man. I think John Bolton's a bad guy. I think he's been a bad guy for a very long time. I think he's immoral. I think he doesn't give a heck. Anyway, good stuff. Happy Friday to you. John Bolton's probably going to jail for doing something stupid that was only for his own benefit. All right, what else do we have here? Here's my favorite story of the day. This could have been the lead story, except I spent all morning watching John Bolton coverage, so here we are. This is my favorite story of the day, okay? Now, if you're one of these people who haven't systematically blocked all of the posters on Twitter and other socials who intentionally misrepresent facts in order to stir you up, if you're one of these people, then you have probably seen some posts going around talking about how, actually, I think this is more of a it's so much hard. It's difficult for me now to determine when I read something that is obviously a misstatement of facts manipulated to serve an individual agenda. It is hard for me to look at that now sometimes and go, oh, that's MAGA, or oh, that's liberal, right? Like, it's like, because sometimes it's like, well, wait a second. First of all, it's a lie, but who benefits from this lie? So here's the story that you may have seen. Iran and Egypt are playing tonight in the World Cup, and there is a viral post going around that purports to tell the story of how this came to be, and what we're being ginned up to believe is this, that Iran and hold on, wait a second. Iran and here's the post. Here's the lie. Iran and Egypt. By the way, do you like the way I just rolled Iran? That was pretty good, wasn't it? That was like Iran and Egypt. This is the lie. They supposedly reached out to the Seattle city government where they're playing tonight and demanded that there be no pride. It's Pride Month. We're wrapping it up. There be no pride of any kind on religious grounds and blah, blah, blah. And they asked for the rainbow flag to be banned from the stadium tonight. They're playing tonight in Seattle. And again, the lie is the Iranians asked for the pride flag to be banned, and Seattle's government said, no, we won't do that. And in exchange, the Seattle government decided they're going to make the whole match a pride match. So now it's a pride match. See what I'm doing? Like the lie, that's, I guess now that I say it out loud, that's a left lie. That's the left putting that one out, because this person wants us to believe that Iran and Egypt came in and said, we know it's Pride Month in America, but we will not be playing this match in Seattle. If there are any pride flags in the stadium, we demand that the City Council of Seattle ban the pride flag at this game. To which the Seattle City Council, according to the lie, said, we will not do that. In fact, now we are designating the match specifically as a pride match. And everybody laughed, and it's like, ha ha, we got them. That ain't what happened. That ain't even close to what happened. Fact, Egypt and Iran are playing in Seattle tonight. Fact, they are playing in a pride match. Fact, they ain't happy about it. They asked for this not to be a pride match. They didn't ask for all flags to be banned on religion. No, they asked for this not to be a pride match. And the city of Seattle said, no, sorry, this has been pre-planned. Because it has been. This is, as is in Chicago and as is in a lot of major American cities, this is really the culmination of Pride Month. This is the weekend here in Chicago where we're having our big Pride Parade. I don't know if Dallas's Pride Parade is this weekend. I know Seattle's Pride Parade is. Seattle is having, this is a Pride weekend. This match between Egypt and Iran has been scheduled as the Friday night kickoff. Yes, it's the World Cup, but it's also Pride weekend in Seattle. This has been framed for months as the kickoff to Pride weekend, and it was going to be a Pride match where flags and all that stuff. Now, I know if you're a certain kind of person, just me saying this triggers you, but the reality is, as it wasn't done as punishment to Iran and Egypt for making demands about bans, which is what we're being lied to. It's crazy. Anyway, just ignore that. All you need to know is that this was planned a long time ago, long before the draw had Egypt playing Iran. There was, like 6 months ago, a thing on the schedule, and the city got together, or the people who are in charge of these things had a meeting, and they said, okay, so what are we doing for Pride weekend? And somebody said, oh, the World Cup's going to be in town. And they said, oh, okay, let's make that Friday match. Again, no idea who's playing who. Let's make that Friday match the Pride match, and we'll use that to kick off the entire weekend because we're Seattle and we're totally okay with Pride Month. And that's what it was. Now, it's just the way the chips fell. Yeah, that's the saying. Or is it the way cards fell? I don't know, but I'm not going to get in the weeds on it. It's just how it turned out that the two teams that must play tonight in the Pride match that has been planned for months are two nations that put gay people to death. And oh, the fun. I know I'm going to be checking out the game. Here's, let's see, here's the story. I just gave you what I know. So let's see if any of what I said is wrong or at least contradicted by this story. This comes to us from Fox News. Here's what, so it should have nice little aftertaste to it, right? Fox News did this story. There's going to be a kick at the end. Long before the World Cup was even made, local organizers in Seattle had earmarked a FIFA World Cup match in the city as a chance to celebrate the LGBTQ community. It's a choice. They made that choice. But now the two teams involved in the game, Iran and Egypt, have objected to any such celebration taking place around the stadium. It's fast becoming yet another flashpoint ahead of next year's already controversial World Cup. Wait, it's fast becoming yet another flashpoint. Oh my God, this proves my point. This is from December 11th. This is from December 11th. These teams weren't even scheduled to play in this match, Iran and Egypt. And on December 11th of 2025, both the soccer delegations or whoever, important people from Egypt and Iran, sent letters to the city of Seattle. They knew back in December that there was a chance they could be playing in this game. They didn't know it would actually fall that way. So isn't that interesting? Because here we are today, and they're playing in this match. Long before the World Cup was even made, local organizers in Seattle had earmarked a FIFA World Cup match in the city as a chance to celebrate the LGBTQ community. But now, the two teams involved. Hold on. This is the team. All right, it's jumping around. I'm sorry. This story, it takes us. All right. So back in December of 2025, it was announced that there would be a Pride night game for the World Cup Friday night. June 26th. They didn't know who was going to be playing in it exactly at the time. At the time, a number of countries learning about this sent letters to Seattle saying, we don't want to be a part of it. All right, fast forward to now. So now, as it turns out, two of the countries that didn't want to be playing in this are in fact playing in this. It's Egypt and Iran. All right, that's why I was confused, because it was going back to when we knew and where we are now. I don't know what to do. But when is this game, by the way? Do we know when this game is? Let's see. What time is the Egypt-Iran World Cup game in Seattle on June the 26th? What time does it begin? All right, let's see. Probably tonight, right? The Egypt versus Iran World Cup game in Seattle kicks off at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock. All right, where can we watch it? I got to tell you, I'm a little intrigued. I'd like to tune in to see like a whole stadium be super gay and then have like two teams that are really mad about it. That might be fun. Lumen Field, it's going to be on FS1. All right, if you want to check that out. I don't know, maybe they won't play, right? Let's see. Let's see. Why are we letting Iran play in this World Cup anyway? Why are we letting, like, we're the boss of the World Cup. Why are we letting Iran play? I had a lot of questions. All right, let's move on. Here's a fun story. Do you remember Greg Phillips? He was the associate administrator for the Office of Response and Recovery at FEMA, the second most important person there at FEMA. And a few months back, it was revealed that he's nutty buckets. He's a crazy. Let me refresh your memory. He went on some podcast, not mine, but some other lady who looks like a crazy lady. I know that we all got twisted by what this guy, Greg Phillips here, said as a very high-ranking member of FEMA, but let's not be lost. This woman looks nuts. This woman looks crazy. This woman, seriously, doesn't she look like she yells at kids skateboarding down the sidewalk? She just looks like that. All right, here we go. Remember this guy, Greg Phillips? Told a crazy story about teleporting and ending up at a Waffle House and dead serious. He's like, yeah, that happened. Totally. He's also the guy who's in charge of making sure that your grandma's okay after that hurricane takes her house. Yeah, same guy.
Teleported.
It's scary in a way. I mean, you don't really know. Okay, is this evil? Is this good? What is this? What do I do with this? How do I deal with it? I was on the phone. Oh my God, what's happening? And I was landed, and landed about 40 miles away.
By the way, I wanted to ask, do we mind the smaller picture? I'm kind of messing around with different looks just to see how it looks. So, I'm big, it's small.
In a ditch outside of a Baptist church in a little tiny town just before you cross over the border. And it was an incredibly frightening moment to experience yourself in your car flying through the air.
This woman's just got a weird look about her.
Teleporting is no fun. It's no fun because you don't really know what you're doing.
This is the guy who is in charge of disaster relief and recovery for the federal government. He is sitting here on a podcast talking about how difficult teleporting is. What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with everybody?
You don't really understand. It's so fun because you don't really through the air. Teleporting is no fun. It's so fun because you don't really know what you're doing. You don't really understand it. I was with my boys one time and I was telling I was going to go to Waffle House and get Waffle House. And I ended up at a Waffle House. This was in Georgia. And I ended up at a Waffle House like 50 miles away from where I was. They said, where are you? I said, a Waffle House. I said, Waffle House where?
All right. So the man, this guy's a master liar, I think. He was supposed to be somewhere. The story, oh God, it's so crazy. So he landed on the teleportation story because he was 50 miles away from home when he was supposed to be home. And I don't know what he was doing, but he decided that he was going to, well, I think I teleported here, honey. Where are you? You were supposed to be here 2 hours ago. Well, I think I teleported to a Waffle House. I don't know. He dug himself in. He didn't back off. When that was revealed and we all laughed about it like 6 months ago or something, he doubled down. He came back. He's like, no, I did teleport. And we're all like, oh, Jesus, does he still have his job? Yep, he still had his job. Not anymore. That's right. That's the story. That's the update. Greg Phillips has been fired. I don't know. They were all supposedly the entire administration was just humiliated by this, as they should be. And them being humiliated by this, I think, is actually a good sign that there are at least some normal people in this administration, but apparently they couldn't get rid of them because that would look like a win for the left, I guess. The left won. They wanted them gone. So they let them sit there. I guess they marginalized them for a bunch of months. And then last night or yesterday, they finally cut ties with old Greg Phillips. It says here, the FEMA official, Greg Phillips, who claimed he once teleported to a Waffle House, has been ousted from the agency. In March, let's see here. It was reported that Greg Phillips, the head of, was this just March? God. This was just March when we found out about the teleporting guy? Oh my God, there is so much nonsense going on. This feels like it was years ago. This feels like there has been so much bullshit. Anyway. In March, it was reported that Greg Phillips, the head of FEMA's Office of Response and Recovery, had a disturbing history of both violent political rhetoric and even claims of teleporting to a Waffle House. Phillips wildly recalled in a January 2025 podcast. Hold on. There's a link here to the violent political rhetoric. I'm wondering what that could be. Let's see what qualifies here in this story for a violent political rhetoric. Let's see. What? Oh, never mind. This is a story. This is a news story that's just for subscribers. So sorry. Sorry, poor people. You don't get information. That's right. You want to learn the details about what this guy did? Well, get a job, loser. All right. So we won't dive into what his supposed violent political rhetoric was. Let's see here. According to sources, Phillips has been pushed out of FEMA, while the Department of Homeland Security maintained that Phillips was only, quote, taking leave for personal reasons. Sources told the outlet otherwise. New DHS leadership had grown weary of the embarrassment surrounding Phillips' public image and his periodic clashes with the department's other leaders. Oh, he's difficult? Really? You don't say. Additionally, the Washington Post wrote that a senior official who left FEMA earlier this year, David Arnold, will come back to take Phillips' post in an acting capacity. All right, once again, he was recognized as the second most important person at the Federal Emergency Management Agency. His official title was the Associate Administrator for the Office of Response and Recovery. That's right. Someone you love live in a tornado zone? Don't worry, Greg Phillips has her. He'll take care of her. He's a serious person. All right, there you have. All right, so here's another thing that I want to show. And by the way, can we say this? I want to apologize for yesterday. Yesterday's show was terrible. Yesterday's show was so terrible. God, it sucked, you guys. I'm so sorry. I don't know what the hell that was. I was just not in a good headspace. I had a little time. I had told myself that I wasn't going to do any shows, right, until I felt right. And I came in and I did a show yesterday and it sucked. However, I do feel pretty good today. Not great, mind you, but I do feel okay. This is a story that I wouldn't have done yesterday. I skipped over a bunch of stuff yesterday. Like I had stories. I learned from the experience of a couple of weeks ago. Remember when I said when I'm in a depressive sort of spin, I shouldn't do these shows because I'm not. It's not good. It's not the brand that I want, if you will. And I apologized for that a couple of weeks ago. So then, yesterday, I feel like I did the exact same thing. So I'm apologizing again. But yesterday, here's the difference. Yesterday, in the middle of the show, I realized that I was kind of like not feeling as articulate, not feeling as ability to my ability to communicate on sensitive, delicate issues that have very nuanced points. It wasn't there yesterday, so I skipped over a bunch of stuff. I would have skipped over this story yesterday, but I feel good today. So let's talk about an issue that is very upsetting and very troubling. It concerns the case of Karmelo Anthony. That's right, not the Denver Nuggets superstar, Karmelo Anthony. And sorry, got to take a quick break. That's right. I know a little bit early on in the show that I'm taking a break. I will get to that in a minute. I just, the kid's here, and made him some breakfast, and it's been staying warm, so I want to make sure he gets it. Yeah, I know what you're saying, 101 breakfast. Hey, he's a teenager, summer vacation. All right, let me take a quick break, okay? And I'll come right back in a moment. All right, sorry, guys. Oh, okay. There you go. Tip the show. Tip the show if you can. I haven't had a tip all week. Well, I've only done 2 shows. I got nothing yesterday. I'm like, Jesus, I come back and do a show. I think somebody maybe nothing yesterday. Nobody supporting this show. Are you the type to support this show? Please drop a little something. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and I'm going to tell you the update on the Karmelo Anthony thing and how it's just getting silly. How it's so troubling. Such a sad story. All right, back after this. All right, I think we're back. All right. Well, here's the thing. His bedroom is right above us, right above where the studio is. Is he right above us? No, he's like above and over a little. Anyway, point is this. I heard this big bang, like I heard some clong and clong. I mean, not a big bang, but I could hear like steps and moving something up there. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I just had to go up there and make sure, because he was working out. That's what he was doing. He was working out. Apparently, he was doing sit-ups on the floor. He's very dedicated to that stuff. I gotta tell you, that's his mom. That comes from his mom. But I said, hey, man, I made French toast. I'm keeping it warm. Do you want some? And he's like, no, I can't eat after I work out. I'm like, okay. So I just powered down a couple of pieces of French toast, and now we're back. Hi, everybody. Part 2 of today's what we'll call rant on a Friday. I do want to thank one more time the people who've helped support this show over the past month. Everybody deserves a shout out. I am still looking for Peter. I don't know what happened to Peter. Peter's missing, hoping that he and Kim are on vacation. That is what I'm hoping. Jen, thank you, Jen, for helping this week. Thank you to Tracy. Thank you to Leslie. Peter, as I said, Peter's regular. Barney, Mama B, Heidi, as always, thank you. And April, you guys are the best. If you guys want to help out this kind of talk radio, drop a little something there in the Venmo or the Cash App, and it'll just help us continue to do it. All right, let's go on to the story that I was teasing, kind of a weird turn of phrase for this. It's an ugly story. I want to talk. Hold on. Let me just get the latest. Let me just see about getting the latest here. Hold on. I want to make sure if there's anything. We're talking the Karmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf story. Thought it was settled, right? I mean, we were here doing this rant the morning that it happened. I remember the morning that it happened. We were, when was this? Like back in September or October. It was actually one of the last shows that we would have done from the old e-gallery. And we were, in transition to moving everything here. Basically, the story is, I don't need to rehash this. Everybody knows the story. Okay, there was like this all-district track meet happening up there at the stadium. What stadium was it? Kuykendall? Is it Kuykendall? I don't know. It's one of the stadiums up there. There was an all-district track meet, and all the different track teams were meeting at different locations in the bleachers. They were all sort of one group from this school here, one group from this school here, and apparently Karmelo Anthony was sitting in the wrong area. He was confronted. Yes, I'm sorry. These are teenage boys. I don't think it was, excuse me, good sir. I do believe there's been an error. I don't think that's how it went down. Okay, because I know teenage boys. I think it probably went down something like Karmelo Anthony sitting there on the bleachers. And I think that Austin Metcalf probably said something like, get the fuck out of here, right? Because we're all alphas. Because we're all super aggressive and total assholes, and we're all ready to go to war at all times. Do I believe that everybody involved here was completely innocent? No. Do I believe that one of the people, when the dust settled, was a cold-blooded murderer? Yes, I do. Because what happened was, at some point during the, hey, you're sitting in the wrong section, a knife was pulled out and plunged into the chest of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. Them's the facts. Again, I do not believe that Karmelo Anthony sat there and then just wanted to kill somebody. No, I don't. But I also don't believe that the victim wasn't instrumental in what would happen next. Not that he deserved it. That is not what I'm saying. And my God. So thankfully, I feel a little more articulate today because it is very nuanced. Boys, 17-year-old boys, especially athletic boys, especially here when we've got some kind of a tournament or something. They might be in a game space or a game head or whatever you want to call it. So, yes, I think there was some, and again, I don't know that it was Austin Metcalf, but I do think there was some, hey, get out of here. Hey, what the fuck? Get out of here. I'll beat your ass. Now, let's move over to the murderer, who I have no doubt in my mind is a murderer, because this whole thing happened because of the way he reacted to assholes. If, in fact, it was an aggressive, get out of here, man. And I have to believe that there was some tinge of that. Otherwise, the reaction to pull a knife out, it's not justified in any way, shape, or form. Don't get me wrong. He is a cold-blooded murderer. He made a choice to murder. It's not defensible, indefensible. He was convicted fairly quickly in what a lot of people, and I know I shouldn't say this because I'm white and I'm not allowed to see it the way everybody else does, seemed like a pretty open and shut case. Teenage boys are assholes. Teenage boys fight. Teenage boys brawl all the time. It does not end in a knife being sunk into a 17-year-old's chest. That is the element of this story that changed everything. So there must be some responsibility for making that choice. As I say, he was convicted a few weeks ago very quickly, way quicker than I thought. I mean, I thought that they should at least keep up appearances and wait an hour or two, right? Because usually in these cases, and certainly in a high-profile case like this, which everyone had to know would be placed under the microscope, I mean, the verdict and that placed under the microscope the way it is now. In these kinds of cases, even if the jury is unanimous immediately, they almost always wait. They wait to make it look good. They wait so that people don't say, well, they didn't even consider it. That's why you wait. These people didn't wait. These people, they convicted Karmelo Anthony in like 35 minutes. It was like 35 minutes from the time, it was insane. And again, I say this because this was a very high profile case that you would expect there to be a lot of, what do they call, like, deconstruction of afterwards. And that's the stage that we're in now. Also, I will say that this is another troubling aspect of the trial. Although it's not so troubling that I'm distracted from the actual concrete facts that teenage boys got sideways with each other and one of them decided to plunge a knife in the other's throat. Those are the facts. Everything else is nuanced. But those are the facts, and those are the things that we are adjudicating in court. Did he pull a knife and plunge it into the chest of a 17-year-old boy who is now dead? Did he do that? Yes, he did. Does the reasons that he's saying he did it in any way justify that action? No, they don't. No, they don't. Get up and move away. Oh, I can't do that. I'd lose respect or whatever. Is that the mindset? He didn't say that. I'm not putting words in his mouth. But was that the mindset? You can't back down. Well, then you are a tragedy of modern society. If you're a 17-year-old boy and you think that in this moment you need to murder somebody else because that is better than having your ego bruised, you are a victim of modern society. This whole generation I've been calling canaries in the coal mine. This whole generation, man, is just different because of the way they were raised. They were raised in a virtual world. They were raised with their nose 3 centimeters away from a screen since they were 3 years old. They do not act one-on-one in public, IRL, if you will. They do not act the way we do. They do not seem to process the way that we do. And this, hopefully, is an outlier to that. And that this isn't just the first of many examples where as these young people create or as these young people mature and go out into the world, we will see examples of them behaving in this insane way that seems so counter to the way the rest of us were raised. I mean, and that's not an overstatement, right? I mean, I know that we've been getting more and more violent over the years, but doesn't seem like this was a millennial option. Like, it doesn't seem like it was a Gen X option. Certainly wasn't a boomer option. They didn't do this. There wasn't this respect. He disrespected me. I must stand my ground. I'm 17 years old myself, and I must spend the rest of my life in prison rather than be humiliated. And by the way, he was sitting in the wrong place. Just go, oh, I'm sorry, man. Oh, yeah, you know what? I am sitting in the wrong place. And then get up and leave. And, when you're like halfway towards your team, then you can turn back and you can go, what the fuck are you sitting? Do that if you need. But especially since he was sitting in the wrong place, and it just seems like, just move. All right, was he a jerk about it? Possibly. I don't know. The defense says that, yeah, they were really like, hey. And this is the other problem. Unavoidable, it became a racial conversation. Unavoidable. And why do I say it's unavoidable? Because that's the only defense that they could have. It's the only thing that the defense of Karmelo Anthony could have put forward that maybe would have screwed the situation up in their favor. Because quite frankly, it was open and shut. It was obvious. He did it in front of a whole bunch of witnesses. By the way, the four of the 6 people that testified, the eyewitnesses who testified that Karmelo Anthony murdered Austin Metcalf, they were black teammates of Austin Metcalf. So all of these young men of color, I don't even, it's 2026. I don't even know what I'm, black dudes. They're black dudes. I got black dude friends. They're black dudes. I'm a white dude. They're black dudes. Okay. So black dude friends of Austin Metcalf testified that, yeah, he just murdered him. This wasn't racial. Hi, I'm a 17-year-old black guy. No, I wasn't screaming, get out of here, N-word, as the defense put forward. The defense said that it was all like, end this and end that. And then the prosecution trotted up a whole bunch of the people who would have supposedly been the ones who said that shit, and they were black kids. So it became ugly, and now it's really ugly because Karmelo Anthony has been convicted. Here, what exactly? I want to make sure that we know exactly what the on June 9th, 2026, a Collin County jury rejected Anthony's claims of self-defense and found him guilty of first-degree murder after less than 3 hours of deliberation. Again, the self-defense claim was based on the fact that he was frightened because of the racial overtones that were coming from the other team of Black and Hispanic people and Metcalf. Everything is not racial, okay? As a matter of fact, when you're talking about Gen Z, Gen Z is probably the least bigoted group of generational cohorts that we've ever had. I don't know. Again, this is anecdotal. Maybe it's anecdotal. My kid lives in Plano. His best friends, I've described often, it looks like a 1980s United Colors of Benetton ad when my kid is hanging out with his friends. So if you're trying to like paint this like it was a bunch of bigoted, rabid, Frisco, MAGA, oh, this is where the country's going and Karmelo Anthony is just a victim. And he is a victim, as I say. I think he's a victim of his generation and society. He has been victimized. He made a choice that he thought, because of the way he had been conditioned, programmed, he made a choice that he thought was the right choice, and that is to murder somebody. It's very, very video game logic, very Grand Theft Auto, right? Just murder him. All right. So here's the troubling part. Less than 24 hours after the verdict, Anthony filed a notice of appeal. A high-profile pro bono legal team consisting of criminal defense and civil rights attorneys have since taken over his appeal efforts. The case has remained highly volatile in the court of public opinion, which is what we're doing here. Welcome. I am the dishonorable Pugs Moran. Welcome to the court of public opinion. The case has remained highly volatile in the court of public opinion in late June of 2026, which, hey, would be right now. Late June of 2026. Let's see. Mainstream platforms reported heavily on a disturbing viral TikTok trend. Content creators began filming themselves dancing to a rap song titled Austin Bop, mimicking stabbing motions and mocking Metcalf's death and family. Following widespread public condemnation, TikTok actively began purging and cleansing its platform of these trends. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about here, and it's getting troubling because, again, this seems like a very easy case, unless you believe that he felt like he was in danger because of the color of his skin. I don't believe that. But there has been an effort now, and I'm going to show you an example of it. There's been an effort now. When the verdict first came out, and I don't know, who was it, Cardi B or Nicki Minaj, one of these people, I make no distinction. I am sorry to the one who this isn't, but one of them, remember, right after the verdict came out and said, this is a travesty of justice, and we must all gather together in support of Karmelo Anthony, right? And I said, what? And then I told you, I said, this is trouble. This is trouble because this person, either Nicki Minaj or Cardi B, or I don't draw a distinction. I don't know, one or the other. This is trouble because this person has a big platform. And if this person says it, then a lot of people who follow them are going to believe it's true. People who haven't even clicked one article about this case, but they hear Nicki Minaj or Cardi B say this. Which one likes Trump? It's the other one. Which one likes Trump? I don't know. And I worried that this could turn into a cause celeb for grifters. Now, we are very highly tuned to the grifters that come to us on the right. I don't know if we're as highly tuned to the ones who's coming to us on the left these days, but they're starting to emerge. They are pushing the narrative that Karmelo Anthony acted in the way that Malcolm X would have acted. They are stirring up people to get, this is turning into, let me just show you some, look, this is really upsetting, but this comes to us from a real troublemaker, somebody who has been a troublemaker forever, somebody who I've told you, I celebrated when she got fired because she is a troublemaker, and that is Joy Reid. This comes to us from Joy Reid. And she has Ellie Mystel on. And Ellie Mystel, I had respect for as a thinker, as an intellectual, as somebody who I thought maybe I could disagree with him on some things. He's very forward in what he believes, but he's a smart man. He's a man whose brain and whose logical process I respect, to the extent that I can disagree with him. Well, I don't anymore, because he has revealed himself to me in this interview with Joy Reid to just be as problematic as everybody on the right that I have a problem with. So let me play this for you. This comes to us from, this is the Joy Reid podcast. This is where she is now because she was even too troublesome for MSNBC. They couldn't handle her. Let me show you this. This is the spin. This is the spin now that the Karmelo Anthony murder case, murder conviction, this is the spin that it's taking on. And these are not crazy pop stars, right? When I said it was either Cardi B or Nicki Minaj, you could almost be dismissive of their influence in serious circles because they're pop stars. What you have to be concerned about is their influence in non-serious circles. Like, now every 17-year-old girl is going to be like, Karmelo Anthony was framed, because they don't know any better, right? That's the celebrity thing. These people are legitimate influencers of serious people. People who take, grown-ups, if you will. Ellie Mystel, certainly. Joy Reid, again, I've always sort of characterized her as a grifter. She has done some things. Okay, so let's watch this. Here we go. This is the narrative that I'm frightened is taking over the appeals conversation for Karmelo Anthony.
Yeah, and in the Karmelo Anthony
idea-
case, you cannot defend yourself.
Right. And then that's the Karmelo Anthony issue of like, we can do violence to you. And if you dare try to stop us, if you dare try to defend yourself.
Okay, well, I followed the case pretty quickly. What was the violence? What was he? Elie Mystal, again, this is a guy who I used to think was a pretty thoughtful guy. What was the violence that was done to Karmelo Anthony? We know the violence that was done to Austin Metcalf. We seem to be conveniently putting that on the back burner. But what was the violence that was done to Karmelo Anthony that he couldn't have walked away from? I don't understand.
If you dare, Anthony is of water while in the back while you're running away.
Yeah. And in the Karmelo Anthony case, you cannot defend yourself.
Right. And then that's the Karmelo Anthony issue of like, we can do violence to you. And if you dare try to stop us, if you dare try to defend yourself, if you dare
look at all the comments, man. I mean, people really think that Karmelo Anthony got railroaded. It also does need to be made that mentioned that there were some troubling issues. Like it's absolutely going to go to appeal, not only because they filed it, but because there is some merit. I don't know if Texas judges will see the merit, but there is merit to go to appeal because there is a complaint about the jury selection process. It was all white people. It was all white people in North Texas. And from the very beginning, that's just flat out a bad luck. That's a terrible bad look, right? So from the moment that happened, some of them are saying that the defense allowed this to happen. Do you remember the process that led to an all-white jury? It was because there were 3 black jurors who were excused from the process because they all in some way or another had some ties to education. And they argued at the time that you can't have a teacher be on this jury because that would, right? I mean, and so they struck them. And the defense was like, that's fine. That's fine. Well, now it's starting to look like the defense allowed that to happen because they didn't have a whole lot of faith in their case. And they thought that this would be something useful on appeal. And that's where we are now. So that is troubling. That was allowed to happen. The judge is the one who screwed up there. The judge should have been like, it's a bad look. It's a bad look. Everything that I do here is going to be overturned. This is a bad. The judge should have, but the judge didn't. So anyway, here we are. Let's go back to the way the narrative is being framed today.
Connects it and go by any means necessary. We will put your ass under the jail. Right? We will build the jail around your black ass for daring to try to defend yourself. And that is my wife is from sub-Saharan Africa. She's from Zimbabwe. And we talk a lot about how much the violence was a known and accepted part of keeping apartheid going. It's never just off screen. It's always.
This is this incident between 2 teenage boys who were being alphas with each other, driven by society again, driven by modern society to accept nothing other than asshole alpha behavior as the way you're expected to carry yourself. This is now an apartheid thing. People like this need these kinds of subjects so that they can stay relevant. Okay. So they need to get some mileage out of this story. That's what I see happening here. Joy Reid is getting mileage out of this story. Elie Mystal is shocking me. I mean, I know he's always, if you're a left or a right wing guy, you've always hated Elie Mystal if you've ever even heard of him. But I've always considered him to be a bit more authentically truthful in the way he expresses his opinions and stuff. I thought he was a thought leader, a real thought leader, not somebody who's just like, well, we got to do an episode that's going to go viral. So why don't we claim that Karmelo Anthony was more like Malcolm X because in America, they will build the jail around you. Well, yeah, hopefully that's, good citizens hope that that's what they do. If you stab a kid in the chest, in response to being asked to move.
In your face, because there's no other way to keep people down like this. There's no other way for them to win other than with overwhelming violence. And that's what we're seeing writ large right through the entire.
Wait a second. Doesn't it sound like Karmelo Anthony is the one that was stabbed in the chest? Is that what he's trying to spin? That Karmelo Anthony is...
It's never just off screen. It's always in your face, because there's no other way to keep people down like this. There's no other way for them to win other than with overwhelming violence. And that's what we're seeing writ large right through the entire Trump administration, the entire MAGA regime. But we can't just blame the MAGAs. We can't just blame the Trump administration, because what we also see...
What are we doing? What are we doing? This has nothing to do with the Trump administration, other than there has been an outsized effect on society and how we carry ourselves. This is not this is a situation that happened in Frisco, Texas, between two teenagers. It was a fight that ended in one of them dying. It has nothing to do with apartheid. It has nothing to do with 250 years of oppression, which I sign off on. 250 years ago, black people in this country were slaves. And up until the 1960s, they couldn't even own a home. So, yes. But also, I think that in 2026, as I stated earlier, especially with this generation of kids we're talking about, unless you're like some skinhead raised like, in East Texas, if you are a modern kid growing up today, Gen Z kid, you're not racist. You're just not. Your schools are fully integrated. There are no issues about, we got black kids in our school. Those are all 1970s, 1980s Boston kind of issues. It's not the way of the world anymore. Whether you want to, these kids today, they've been programmed by a liberal media to accept everybody. Is that a bad thing? I mean, I'm not one for the big labels, liberal or conservative or whatever. Just do the right thing. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. If kids today, if Gen Z, the way they behave and the way I've perceived them to be, at least, and I don't even mean anecdote. Well, wait a second. I do know a Highland Park kid. Who's pretty racist. He's like a rich kid. He's like the worst of everything. He was hanging out with one of my favorite little Highland Park kids. He was hanging out with him and he started talking about something and I'm like, oh, you're awful. Oh, Jesus. I wonder if that's what it is. Like, I wonder if it's kids who are like 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. I wonder if those kids are kind of in the clear because they're the ones that, the United Colors of Benetton when I see my son and all of his friends. But I wonder if because of the influence of the last couple of years, I'm wondering if like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is like back to being super racist. Like, I'm wondering, I don't know. Guess I gotta spend more time hanging out with 8-year-olds. No, thank you. All right, let's get back into this. Again, this is just an attempt to keep the story going so that these people can now have a cause celeb that they can raise money on, that they can get on TV over, that they can do endless podcasts on, clicks and clicks and clicks. How do you stir people up? How do you engage the target audience? Well, this is how you do it.
And what we've always seen, and we can go back from these cases to George Floyd, to Philando Castile, to Michael Brown and Ferguson.
All of these cases are not the same. Karmelo Anthony has nothing to do with Michael Floyd, with Michael Brown, George Floyd, Trayvon Martin. Those are all very different situations. Don't confuse them. Karmelo Anthony is not another George Floyd. I mean, surely you can see that, right? I mean, I'm not crazy. This is not the same situation at all. And he's trying to conflate them so that people watching are just as outraged over a jury returning a guilty verdict on Karmelo Anthony as they were watching Derek Chauvin kill George Floyd. I forgot his name. I almost said Mike Brown. Ugh. Chauvin's the guy who did Floyd, right? That guy. We watched that. That's a whole different situation, man.
What we see is a real acceptance by otherwise good white folks for the violence that's done against us.
Okay, I think he's talking to me. Am I an otherwise good white folk? Here's what I think. I think I'm an otherwise just good person who, isn't I make the wrong decision on things all the time. We all do. But once I realize I'm wrong, I'll change. I'm not, a bigot who, dials into things. All right, let's see. I want to know what he's going to say here about, me, otherwise good white people.
What we see is a real acceptance by otherwise good white folks for the violence that's done against us.
Yeah, back to Trayvon Martin as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Maybe he shouldn't have run away.
Right, exactly. Let me bring in Angela Rye, our dear friend, former
Wait, what did he just say there? Maybe he should what?
Counsel as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Maybe he shouldn't have run away.
Maybe he shouldn't have run away? He didn't run away. He pulled a knife and stabbed him. What does that even mean? Hold on.
Right.
I need more context on that. What?
To Philando Castile, to Michael Brown and Ferguson. What we see is a real acceptance by otherwise good white folks for the violence that's done against us.
Yeah, back to Trayvon Martin as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Maybe he shouldn't have run away.
Right, exactly. Let me bring in Angela Rye, our dear.
All right. Well, there you have it. So I think this is just the beginning. I think that we are going to start hearing a lot more of this. I think we're going to start running into people who maybe were not familiar with the story from the beginning, but are now being caught up by the likes of Joy Reid and Ellie Meistel and Angela Rye, who joined them. They're racists. Those people are racists. Those are racist views. And don't what about me? Yeah, there's a whole lot of white racists out there, whole bunch of them. But that doesn't mean that they're not racists. And that certainly doesn't mean that they shouldn't be allowed to. Well, you could be racist on this side, but they can't be racist back. No, they can't, because otherwise they're just racist too. And the problem is racism, not the specific form of racism. The problem is that there are people here in this world who just think that by birthright they're better than others. And speaking as one of the good white people, otherwise good. I'm otherwise good. I mean, I'm pretty clear about how I feel about the George Floyd situation. That man was murdered. We all watched it. Feel similarly about Mike Brown down there outside St. Louis. Cops make mistakes. I come from a cop family. There are bad cops all the time. If you've spent any time growing up around police officers when they gather, you will hear them shit talk other cops. Cops know who there are bad cops. There was a 4th of July party once where my friend's father, who was a high-ranking police officer, had this big backyard party, and I remember these 2 cops showed up, and there was probably 50 people in this backyard, but I remember these 2 guys who were also cops. They showed up, and they weren't welcomed. They were told to leave. And my friend, who it was, his dad who was throwing the party, said, what was that about? Because there was like some arguing in the driveway, and it was weird. I said, what was that about? And my friend just simply said, those guys are corrupt. And I thought, oh, that's okay. Sure. So there are good cops and there are bad cops. And I will say this about cops, knowing them as closely as I do. The badge does change them. it does turn them into a bit of a cop, if you will, you know. So I don't know. Maybe there's something with that. I don't think it has to do with the uniform. I think it has to do with humanity. I think when you give humanity a badge and a gun, I think that most people do not handle power well. And even at the local level during traffic stops or investigating shoplifting, you know, sometimes the asshole might come out, but that's a thing. That's why we have body cameras. That's why I love body cameras. Let's film everything. Let's film it. Let's see who's the asshole in the situation. And guess what? Since the advent of body cameras, if you watch body cameras at all, and I watch them all the time, guess who's the asshole 99% of the time? The citizen who is being arrested. Body cameras have forced cops to now drastically change, I think, the way they interact with people. But this idea that Karmelo Anthony is in any way like what happened to George Floyd or like what happened to Michael Brown or even Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin, you remember that? George Zimmerman? That kid was just coming back from the store in an apartment complex where he lived with his mom. And George Zimmerman was just a guy who got all stirred up by AM talk radio and Fox News, Bill O'Reilly, Hannity, whatever. And this is back before they were even as bad as they are now. No, he got stirred up by them then, and he felt that he had to put his cape on and protect his neighborhood from the black kid drinking a Snapple, right? Wasn't it a Snapple or something? It was something weird. Arizona. Was it an Arizona iced tea? I don't know. So he felt, you know, as a white citizen, which, by the way, George Zimmerman, he looks Mexican to me. Another one of these situations where we have somebody purporting to be a white supremacist. And I don't even know that that's what George Zimmerman did, but he looked like a Mexican. And I think he was racist because I think he saw a black kid walking through the courtyard of the apartment complex and put his cape on and decided, time to be a hero, Zimmerman. And it ended up in the death of a kid. Because you know what? I got to be honest with you. I'm thinking about that now. If my kid was walking back from the corner store where he's staying here, if he was walking back from the corner store coming down the sidewalk and some dude was like, hey, you don't belong here, my kid wouldn't just be like, oh, I'm sorry, mister, I'm going to be on my way. My kid would probably fight that asshole. And that's probably what Trayvon Martin did. I remember people, I had a friend who was like, whoa, what did you throw a punch at him? Because apparently George Zimmerman, I'm like, yeah, he threw a punch at him. He's a weird white guy following him at night. Leave me alone, dude. You're not a cop. But that's not the situation with Karmelo Anthony. Karmelo Anthony made a bad choice in a situation that he could have walked away from, and he murdered somebody. I'm not going to get into. He murdered somebody. That's all we need to know. We don't need to look into what Austin Metcalf was or, he was a mean kid. No, I don't know that to be true. Nobody knows that to be true other than the people that knew him. And it doesn't matter if it is true. What matters is that he's a dead kid and somebody killed him. And we know who killed him because everybody saw it happen. So please stop with the narrative. By the money grifters, now we're seeing them on the left trying to get a little attention for a story that is just so detrimental to society at large. This is just terrible. This is not a fight. We'll see how it turns out. All right, let's move on. That's the latest in the Karmelo Anthony nonsense. Barney, there we go. Barney says Zimmerman is Hispanic, and Martin was almost certainly casing houses. There you go, Barney. There you go. Well, guess what? Hey, Barney. Hey, Barney, guess what? It's not a death sentence. Okay. All right, I'll go with you. He was casing houses. Now what? You got nothing, Barney. You can't murder a guy for case. You can't murder a guy. What are you, Orwell? We talking about the thought police here? You want to murder a guy? You think he deserves to die? Mind your business, dude. Mind your business. Here we go. This is the far right craziness. Barney. Floyd died of an overdose because the mob intimidated the paramedics out of rendering aid. Had nothing to do with the neck that was on it or the knee that was on it. Oh, stop it. Just stop it. And by the way, I don't believe for a minute that George Floyd was some pillar of the community. It doesn't fucking matter. He was a citizen and he's dead because a cop put his knee on his neck for like 5 minutes. He was overdosed, junk. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about George Floyd's past because it doesn't fucking matter. It only serves to justify the bad behavior on behalf of the police. That was a fucked up situation, and hopefully it'll never happen again because you learn from it. But it will happen again. Although maybe not. You know, again, I love the body cams. I love, everything being on the up and up. Because as I say, 9.999 out of 10 times, the real asshole in the tape is going to be the citizen. Because cops know better now. Still some psychotic cops, though. Some sociopathic cops. Byron says, Jasmine Crockett supports George Zimmerman. Cool. I don't support Jasmine Crockett on anything. So I don't know. I don't know what that, you don't either. So what does that mean? I mean, I think Jasmine Crockett, she might be a bit of a flim-flammer. I used to like her. Like, cause she would talk shit. She wasn't afraid to like fight back. And I like that. But now I think Jasmine Crockett's shown herself to be a bit of a flim-flammer. So here's Barney supporting Jasmine Crockett and the things that she believes. Here we go. War Devil. He said he had enough fent in him to kill 3 men. You sound dumb here. Did he? Cite your source. Hold on. I'll just go to AI here. And again, that doesn't fucking matter. That doesn't matter. You saw what you know what? I am not going to get into this. I'm not going to rehash George. Are we talking about George Zimmerman or Floyd? All right, hold on. All right, I'm going to see. Hold on. I'm just going to look that up. Did he have, he had enough fentanyl in him to kill 3 men. Okay. Did George Floyd have enough fentanyl in his system to kill 3 men? Did I sound dumb saying otherwise? Okay. Let's see what AI. Byron, according to multiple sources here, as aggregated by Google AI, no, you don't sound dumb at all, and you are factually correct to challenge that claim. George Floyd did not have enough fentanyl in his system to kill 3 men, and the argument that he died exclusively of a drug overdose was thoroughly debunked by medical experts during the trial of Derek Chauvin. The lethal dose narrative stems from a misunderstanding of toxicology reports and opioid tolerance. Byron, I think you're getting your information from people who do not have a firm understanding of toxicology reports and opioid tolerance. The Hennepin County Medical Examiner's autopsy report found that George Floyd had 11 nanograms per millimeter of fentanyl in his blood. The lethal misconception: while 11 nanograms can be fatal to a first-time or occasional opiate user, George was an old pro. Doesn't say that. I added that. Let's see here. This is a very survivable amount, especially for individuals who have developed a high tolerance to drug use. All right. So, sorry. You've been debunked. By, let's pull a couple of these. What is this? NPR. I know, right? NPR. Why, that's not Benny Johnson. Okay. During the 2021 trial, multiple independent medical experts and the Hennepin County Medical Examiner himself testified regarding the true case cause of death. Asphyxiation was the cause of death. Renowned pulmonologist Dr. Martin Tobin. Hey, look at that. I wonder if we're related. That's a family name of ours. Dr. Martin Tobin testified that Floyd died from a low level of oxygen caused by being pinned to the pavement. The position of his body and the pressure on his neck and back acted like a vice, making it impossible. I'm reading the fucking toxicology report, but Byron watched a fucking Tucker Carlson special, and now I'm the one who sounds dumb. I love you, War Devil, but we're just going to disagree on this. All right, let's keep going. The next story that we're going to get into. Here's another crazy one. All right, so this is actually pretty clever. I'm like, this is a good idea. Well, if I was a dark soul, this would be a good idea. If I was a completely broken individual, this would be a good idea. I mean, I am desperate for clicks and tips and support and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know if I'm going to do this, but it'll work. If you guys want clicks, if you guys want to become, somebody that's being talked about on the socials, we got a lady here who went to a Tiger game who's got an absolute surefire way to do it. Here's what she did. So a woman goes to a Tigers game and she got kicked out. She got kicked out of the Tigers game because she was wearing a shirt that said Jesus over homos or something. One of these things. This is sort of connected to the whole pride stuff now that Christians are getting into, because Christians are good people. They're good people. They're just, they're out there stirring it up, trying to get their clicks. So here's what she did. She went to a Tigers game wearing a shirt that said Jesus in the Bible or whatever. We'll get the real name. It's not important. We'll get what it was I'm a Christian and I love Jesus. All right, that's basically the t-shirt message that she was trying to get out there. So she goes to the game and then starts acting like a fool. Then just starts running around. She has scout seats. Do you know what the scout seats are? Scout seats are traditionally reserved right behind home plate for baseball evaluators, professional scouts, general managers, stuff like that. Why? Because you can get the best apparent view of what a pitcher is doing and what a pitcher is throwing. So those seats behind home plate, traditionally known as scout seats, are reserved for very serious baseball people. That ain't been the case in like 20 years, though, because you see, Major League Baseball team owners, they realize that fuck the scouts. They can sit up in the booth and watch it on video. We can now sell the scout seats to rich people. So that's what scout seats are now. Anything right behind home plate, those are just rich people, and they are getting waitresses, and they go under the tunnel there at the scout seats, and there's a whole banquet room with food. It's incredible. So anyway, this woman, she goes to the Tigers game with her I Love Jesus More Than You t-shirt, and she starts acting like an asshole behind home plate. She is running around. She's trying to get on camera as much as she can. And when she gets on camera, she's popping the shirt, and you can see people around her like, would you stay in your seat? So basically, she's trying to do this, and she's acting like a fool back there in the scout seats. She got kicked out. They kicked her out of the game. They kicked her out of the game. And she pulled, are you familiar with Night Shift? Remember the show Night Shift, where Michael Keaton played Billy Blaze Jowski, and he was telling his coworker, Henry Winkler, Billy Blaze said, yeah, I went to Atlantic City, and they kicked me out of the casino. And Henry Winkler's like, what'd they kick you out of the casino for? And Billy Blaze is like, for being too good a player. And Henry's like, oh, okay, what happened? And he goes, well, and then he tells a story about how he got a bad hand of cards and he took his drink and he threw it in the dealer's face. And he goes, so they kicked me out for being too good a player. That was the way he saw it. That's what this woman did. This woman immediately got kicked out of the Tigers game, went live on her stream and started going, the Tigers kicked me out for loving Jesus. That no, sweet pea. The Tigers kicked you out for being a bitch. The Tigers kicked you. Doesn't matter what t-shirt you were wearing, you were being obnoxious. So let's dive into this. Here's the video of where she is. And by the way, she was officially kicked out for violating the rules of the scout seats. Okay, there are rules. There are rules when you sit in the scout seats than when you sit out in the outfield or wherever you are. We'll go through the rules for scout seats, but first we're going to watch her get kicked out because, man, oh, man, this is just another example of how Major League Baseball is persecuting Christians. They are looking for Christians, and they will run you out of the ball club or ballpark if you profess your love for Jesus. And that's why the Tigers kicked me out, for loving Jesus too much.
Okay, they're kicking me out because of my shirt.
Jesus over pride. That's what it is. I knew it was something. Okay, so she's got a Jesus over pride shirt. She's like, they're kicking me out because of my shirt.
Okay, they're kicking me out because of my shirt.
Mm-hmm.
That's
all right. So here she is. This is what she's kicked out for wearing. Do you see her? Do you see her back here? All right, let's watch. And remember, there are specific rules if you sit in the scout seats.
page. She was kicked out of the Detroit Tigers game on June 19th, 2026 over her shirt that said Jesus over pride.
Okay, they're kicking me out because of my shirt.
Yeah, that's why.
That's Paige. She was kicked out of the Detroit Tigers game on June 19th, 2026 over her shirt that said Jesus over pride.
Mhm.
Okay, they're kicking me out because
All right, there you go. You see it. There's more video out there of stuff that she was doing. You can find it. Just look her up. All right, let's go through the rules for sitting in the scout seats, okay? Because she seems to be claiming that she was evicted from the ball or ejected from the kicked out of the ballpark because she was wearing a Jesus t-shirt because she loves Jesus. The real reason she was kicked out was because she didn't adhere to the rules that are stated when you agree to sit in the scout seat section. All right. Rules for scout seats. No political or commercial messages. Okay, this makes sense. So you don't want a guy sitting right behind home plate with a great big t-shirt on that advertises his business because, well, baseball needs to make money. Seriously, this is a greed rule. This is set up because when they envisioned this rule, it was for exactly the scenario that I just gave you. They weren't really thinking about this pride thing being an issue. But she's wearing a shirt that has a message. Now, I don't know that this message is either political or commercial, maybe a little political because of the times we live in. But anyway, stadiums universally have banned clothing, hats, or banners containing overt commercial advertisements, political affiliations, or statements that undermine civil liberties. Because corporations pay premium prices for the rotating ad backstops behind home plate. Oh, that's what they're saying. Because you know how, like, right behind home plate, right in front of the scout seats, there is an advertisement. So, like, let's say it was a lawyer. Let's say like some local law firm decided to buy behind home plate, and then let's say you're a competitor with that local lawyer. Like, let's say it's the Hammer versus whatever. I don't know what another stupid name for lawyers. But if you were that lawyer, you could buy those seats and sit right next to the sign that says the other people, and you could have your name on it, and you're not paying a dime other than for those tickets. All right. So let's see. It says here, no banners containing overt commercial advertising, political affiliations, or statements that undermine civil liberties because corporations pay premium prices for rotating ads on the backstop. Attire displaying profanity. Okay. That she didn't have profanity. Derogatory sentiments, pornography, gang symbols, or anything deemed offensive by stadium management is prohibited. If your shirt has a vulgar joke, you will be required to cover it up, turn it inside out, or change before being asked to leave the stadium. Opposing team gear restrictions. All right, this is an interesting one for scout seats. Certain franchises strictly police the aesthetic of the seats directly behind the plate to ensure a home field look on television. Let me tell you something. This is a Cubs thing. This is a Cubs thing that I actually found myself concerned about. I had gone to a Cubs-White Sox game at Wrigley Field with my son. This is going back about 10 years ago. And we had really good seats. We didn't have scout seats, but we had really good seats that were sort of adjacent to the Cubs dugout. So the Cubs dugout was here, and we were about 3 rows off the dugout, but right there. So in the area of the on-deck batting circle for the Cubs. My son and I were wearing all White Sox gear, and we knew we were going to be on TV. And the person who gave me the ticket specifically said that you might be asked to take off your opposing team gear because you'll be on camera. I wasn't, but it was a concern. We were like, So if we were seated just a couple of rows over in the scout seat section, yeah, they probably would have told my son and I to take off our White Sox gear, which I kind of get. Opposing team gear restrictions. Franchises strictly police the aesthetic of the seats directly behind the plate to ensure a, quote, home field look on television. Let's see here. While fans in the cheap bleacher seats can occasionally get away with taking their shirts off, the tarps off trend of 2026, full shirts and shoes are non-negotiable but behind home plate in the scout seats. All right, so now here, this is where she ran afoul, okay? It wasn't about her shirt. She wants you to believe that it's about her shirt, but not necessarily about the shirt. It's about movement. It's about moving around, not staying in your seat, and making a deliberate attempt to get on TV. That is a one-way ticket to get your ass booted out of scout seats. You can't do that. As Walter Payton said, Walter Payton was asked why he doesn't do an end zone dance or spike the football. And he said, it's because I like to act like I've been there before. That's how they need you to act in the scout seats. Like you've been there before and that this is not a big fun thrill. All right. Strict fan movement etiquette. Premium scout seat sections heavily enforce a policy requiring fans to restrict their movement and stay seated during live play. That's what she was kicked out for moving around and changing her seat in order to get on camera. She was literally asking people to move so that she could get on camera. But again, immediately she was booted out and she decided to go viral with, the Detroit Tigers kicked me out for loving Jesus. So that's where we are. That's the crazy world we're living in here as we barrel towards our nation's 250th birthday weekend. All right, what else do we have? All right, let's do this. Guys, here we go. This kind of caught up on me. You know, I took a few days off and I didn't really follow the news. That's maybe why yesterday's show was so disjointed, because it was a lot of news stories from days earlier that I had read like days earlier, and maybe I was a little foggy on. So I apologize for that. But deaths, you know how I focus on deaths. We have had a number of notable deaths that need to be accounted for and placed into the celebrity death condo in heaven. It's what we do here. We all know celebrities die in threes. You know it. Don't even push back on me with this. You know that they die in threes. Why do they die in threes? Well, I happen to have it on good authority that they die in threes because in heaven, when you're a celebrity, you don't live with the rest of us. You know that dream of, oh, I bet grandpa's playing guitar in heaven with Jimi Hendrix. No, he's not. Jimi Hendrix doesn't want to hang out with your grandpa. There's a whole celebrity wing where those people get to continue being special. And it's a gated community on a golf course, and it's comprised of a whole bunch of 3-bedroom condominiums, and that is why celebrities die in threes. And we track them here on this show. We start on January 1st, and every celebrity who dies, okay? That's how we do it. All right, so we've had some big ones. Let me get you caught up, okay? Let me see where we are here with the Death Trilogy. Let me pull up the Death Trilogy. Is this the Death Trilogy thing? Yeah. All right, here we go. All right, I think we left off. Hold on. Who did we leave off with? Somebody that I liked. All right, hold on. Scrolling. My goodness, have we had a lot of celebrities die this year. Oh, nope, went too far. All right, here we go. Yes. So we have had 22 death trilogies in the year 2026 so far. We just completed a threesome, a big one, a big threesome. And we've also started a new one. So let me get y'all caught up. The last trilogy that we accounted for here, it was Death Trilogy number 21. It was the young actress Davi Chase, who played Lilo and Stitch, or played Lilo in Lilo and Stitch. She's in The Ring, Donnie Darko, all of that. Davi Chase, she died at 35 years old. Then we lost Walter Parazater. He was, of course, founding member of the band Chicago. Very cool guy. Told you about how, you know, every time that I would cross paths with him in Chicago media, he was always just such a gentleman, such a straight up dude. So cool. Walter Parazater, 81 years old, and he was followed by Tom Dreesen, another guy who I told you a little story with. He invited me to his hotel room. He was super cool to me when I was just a scared little intern. That was Death Trilogy number 21 of the year. It started on the 16th day of June with Davi Chase, and it ended on the 17th day of June with the passing of 86-year-old comedian Tom Dreesen. Now let's get into 22. All right, this is a big one, you guys. Where is it? Yeah. Well, not where is it, but I wanted to play a clip for this guy. Didn't even know that this guy had died until last night. Didn't even know he died. He died on the 19th. Okay. So we're going back almost a week. And I can't believe that I didn't know that this man died. James Burrows passed away. James Burrows is one of the most significant television comedy creators of the last 50 years. James Burrows is a god in the world of TV. You can talk about Aaron Spelling. You can talk about Gary Marshall, Norman Lear. Yeah, those are all big ones. James Burrows is right there with him. And not only that, but James Burrows was cool. He began in television as a writer, not a writer, as the director of the Mary Tyler Moore Show. He had worked with Mary Tyler Moore years earlier in New York when both of them, he was just like a stagehand and she was like a young chorus line dancer in some show. And they became friends. And years later, James Burrows picked up the phone and called his old friend, Mary Tyler Moore, who now by 1969-70 had grown into quite the icon already as Laura Petrie and was getting ready to form a new production company with her husband, Grant Tinker. MTM Productions, right? James Burrows was one of the first people to pick up the phone and call Grant Tinker and say, hey, look, I would really love an opportunity to direct some of these things. So he became the in-house director for MTM, which if you grew up watching TV in the 1970s, that was every show on TV. Every show that wasn't Norman Lear was MTM, whether it was the actual Mary Tyler Moore show he directed, Bob Newhart he directed, Phyllis he directed, Rhoda he directed. So very early on, like his first jobs in TV directing were just directing cornerstone American situation comedies. He never directed a stupid, dumb show. Everything that he put his hands on became instantly classic. That's who James Burrows was. He would then go on to dick around with Taxi, right? Then what did he do after Taxi? Actually, you know what? After Taxi was pretty much nothing. He only did something called Cheers. He only created a show called Cheers. Yeah, James Burrows, he's the Cheers guy. He would go on to do Will and Grace, the Hogan Family. I mean, we are just talking about one of the most prolific. And when you look back at James Burrows' shows, the shows that he either executive produced, created, or directed, when you look back at his shows, they're all quality. None of them are stupid 70s sitcoms. They are all the cream of the crop. Now, Norman Lear, he kind of cornered the avenue of quality social commentary. That's who Norman Lear was. Norman Lear's goal with his hit TV shows, All in the Family, Jefferson's Good Times, Maude, all of that stuff. Norman Lear's whole path was he's doing comedy, but he's doing comedy with a social conscience that is deliberately trying to raise kitchen table conversations. That's Norman Lear's contribution. James Burrows just decided that comedy can be classy. And every classic foundational comedy series of the mid 70s all the way through the 1990s is a James Burrows show. Again, think about what he did. Taxi, that's classy. That's a smart person sitcom. Cheers, same thing. Dumb people didn't like Cheers. Cheers was for people who liked dialogue and loved chemistry, and that's what Cheers was. Will and Grace, I used to say about Will and Grace, Will and Grace had more punchlines per second than any other show. And I know this because I used to do a show. I used to produce a radio show, Kevin Matthews at the Loop in Chicago. And one of the segments that I used to have to do was I would look at sitcoms and we would have sitcom wars, like who would have the funnier jokes. Like, you know what I mean? Like it would just be like a snippet from this sitcom, a snippet from this one, which joke was funnier. And Will and Grace, man, it was the hardest show to pull from because every line had this. Everything they said was a punchline. It was incredible. I only really became somebody who appreciated Will and Grace years later. That was really a good show. That was really a smart show. I mean, if in 1997 the idea of two gay characters was too much for you, then you probably never saw it. And honestly, that's probably the reason that I didn't watch Will and Grace. I was probably like, yeah, I don't think that's going to appeal to me. Nothing against it, but I just don't think it's going to appeal to me. Well, years later, it's incredible. James Burrows, who died on the 19th day of June this year, he also was instrumental in a show that I've been telling you about, and I think this might be the last thing that he did. He was very important in the HBO Max Lisa Kudrow show, The Comeback, which I've been telling you guys is just so incredibly brilliant. James Burrows in The Comeback played James Burrows. The Comeback is a show on HBO starring Lisa Kudrow as an actress who was an it girl for a brief period of time in the late 80s, early 90s, whose career has kind of fallen off. And she is trying to make a comeback. And the way that she is making a comeback in Hollywood is she has hired a reality TV crew to document her attempts to get her stardom back. And one of the things that she lands is a role on a new situation comedy. So again, she's filming a situation comedy, but she's also being filmed internally by her own documentary crew. The director and creator of the situation comedy that Lisa Kudrow's character, Valerie Cherish, the director and creator of the situation comedy that she's been cast in is James Burrows. James Burrows' role in this show covers all 3 seasons, first season, second season, 3 seasons. He acts as kind of a mentor to Lisa Kudrow's character, and he is fucking baller. Like, The Comeback isn't Will and Grace. It's just incredibly fascinating characters playing themselves authentically, not for laughs, not for jokes. It's very Curb Your Enthusiasm. The humor is in the characters relating with each other, but it's also very moving. It's also, there are these, because she is trying so hard, and she is obviously a fool with very little self-awareness. But you, as the viewer of The Comeback, you start to feel for Valerie Cherish. This is a scene between her and James Burrows, who just died last. James Burrows playing himself. Sorry, hold on. I gotta. So in this scene, Valerie Cherish is attempting her comeback, and she has just shot a scene in the new sitcom. And James Burrows has called cut, and Valerie, who has forgotten that she is no longer the it girl that she used to be, is demanding another take. So this is how James Burrows, the great James Burrows, an absolute god of American television, this is how he played himself in this scene. Oops, sorry.
Did you see Valerie?
I think she's still on set.
Thank you.
Get Jimmy. Follow Jimmy.
Valerie, can I see you?
Yeah. Oh, sure, Jimmy.
Off.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
He doesn't like the reality cameras. The reality cameras are following her. He's got to talk to his or star or whatever. By the way, that's Sarah Silverman's sister. I don't know if you guys know that, but that's Sarah Silverman's sister.
Go around.
That wasn't good what you did out there with the audience.
Jimmy, I am so sorry. Okay, I was not trying to get in your way. You know, you're the hit maker. I wouldn't,
You're not getting in my way. You're getting in your way. You gotta trust me.
Jimmy, I trust you. I trust you. It's just, look, and I'm it.
You know what? I hope this is better than I'm it, because I'd like it to get picked up.
Well, now, ran for 4 years, so.
You're not hearing what I'm saying. I'm trying to help you here. Do you understand?
Yes. But all I'm saying is that, look, I'm always looser on the second, third take. You know, they gave me lots of takes on it.
Well, you know what? You're not it anymore. You took a small part, you hit it out of the park. You can't ask for better than that. Have a great couple of weeks.
Okay.
I'll see if it gets picked up.
Okay.
All right, there you have it. The great James Burrows. The last thing that I believe he did was, the most recent season of The Comeback. And that's a great show. That is such a great show. James Burrows, dead on the 19th day of June. He is the first celebrity in the 3-bedroom celebrity condo for group number 22. That's right, the 22nd. All right, so James Burrows, another big one. James Burrows, 85. How about on the 22nd day? This would have been Monday. Somebody else died on Monday, and I don't know that anybody covered this first guy, but he was fairly important. Dead on Monday, the 22nd day of June at 100 years old, Alan Greenspan. Alan Greenspan joins James Burrows, of course, economist, chair of the Federal Reserve from 87 through, I don't know, last week. Seems like that dude was in charge of the Federal Reserve forever. Alan Greenspan died on Monday. He joins James Burrows. Now, I think the reason we didn't hear anything at all about Alan Greenspan, maybe you did, I didn't, is because of the other guy who died on Monday, the 22nd, and that is at 94 years old, American Hall of Fame music executive Clive Davis. Clive Davis died. Huge guy in the record business. Columbia Records, Arista Records, J Records. Discovered everybody from Aretha Franklin to Carrie Underwood. I don't know what his most recent one was, but Clive Davis was an old dude who could, spot a hit well into his 60s, 70s, and 80s, an icon of the American music business. He died on Monday. He joins Alan Greenspan, the former chair of the Federal Reserve, and James Burrows, one of the great television executives. That's interesting. James Burrows and Clive Davis. I bet, they can get along together. I bet they know a lot of the same people, having been Hollywood icons for as long as they are. Anyway, that's number 22. That is the just completed 22nd death trilogy of the year 2026. All right, but the Grim Reaper, he will not be deterred from making his rounds, and he did slam that scythe down on another unsuspecting person, because we've got another celebrity dead on the 24th, opening up the 23rd death trilogy. David Clayton Thomas, 84 years old, British Canadian Hall of Fame singer, blood, sweat, and tears. David Clayton Thomas died on the 24th. Let's see here. How did we... hold on. Here we go. All right, let's watch this. Yep. All right, here's a little news report on the death of the great David Clayton Thomas. We're gonna play the news report, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about him because this dude was badass. Here you go. Here's how the news remembered David Clayton Thomas.
And David Clayton Thomas, the lead singer of Blood, Sweat, and Tears, has died.
Catch a painted pony, let the spinning wheel turn.
On songs like Spinning Wheel and When I Die and others, Clayton Thomas brought a bluesy tenor to a band known for its genre-bending sound. They played at Woodstock in 1969, and a year later won the Grammy for Album of the Year, beating out the Beatles' Abbey Road. Clayton Thomas split with the group in 1972 and went on to release more than a dozen solo albums. His publicist said he died Wednesday in Toronto. David Clayton Thomas was 84.
All right, so David Clayton Thomas, maybe not a name that you know. You're probably more familiar with the band that he made famous, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, because that is a baller band name. Earth, Wind, and Fire, hell, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I love it. Blood, Sweat, and Tears was a very cool band. Blood, Sweat, and Tears is one of these bands that probably could have only existed in the moment. And what moment was that? That was a moment in rock where rock was sort of, well, let's say this. A lot of people were moving towards the rock genre around the mid 1960s into the early 70s, who were coming from non-traditional musical backgrounds. And what I mean by that is today, when you see a hot young guitar player who is playing in the hot new rock band, that young rock player probably picked up a guitar and had a lot of established rock guitar players to emulate, right? I started playing after I heard Jimi Hendrix, and I moved on to Van Halen and all. Those are all rock things. The rock guy of today has grown up on primarily rock influences, or at least influences that existed in the rock era. That's not the case for a guy like David Clayton Thomas and the members of Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Back then, these guys were coming into, remember, these guys were born in the 30s and shit. So their first instrument was probably a horn or a tuba. or something. And then if they thought as a young child about dreams of working in music, they dreamed of working for Benny Goodman. They dreamed of working in a big band. So there was a particular period of time, especially in the mid 1960s, where rock had more of this hybrid sound of crooner singing, big band orchestration, and rock vibe. That's what Blood, Sweat, and Tears were. Half those guys in those bands came from big bands, came from playing, Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy and all of that kind of stuff. David Clayton Thomas himself was a crooner. He was a guy who had sung since the 1950s, but he's always been kind of like Sinatra. Bobby Darin was somebody who David Clayton Thomas really liked. So when you take all of these influences around 1966, 67, when Blood, Sweat, and Tears first came together, you take all of these influences and it doesn't sound like anything you're going to hear today, or anything that you would hear today sounds like something that's paying homage to these bands that existed for a period of time. Bands with full horn sections, whether you're talking about Blood, Sweat, and Tears, the example we're using here, the band Chicago, we talked about them a couple of weeks ago. There were a lot of bands that had full-on horn set that went away as the next generation of musician didn't grow up with these other influences. They grew up on, 60s rock. Just interesting. He sort of, the band Blood, Sweat, and Tears and David Clayton Thomas's style sort of, it encapsulates a very brief moment in time when influences were the last of the influences. These were the last guys to go into rock who really liked Sinatra in his singing style. Let me give you an example. I want to play some David Clayton Thomas here because you make me so. Where is it? They had a lot of great songs too, and they were weird songs, right? They didn't do Blood, Sweat, and Tears. They didn't do Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog. They should have. It's like right in there. It's like the kind of shit they would do. Here, and we'll give you some examples. I loved his voice. I loved his singing style. And, here we go. All right, let's see. We'll just scroll through Twitter because Twitter's got a lot of really cool tributes to him. So let's see. Well, what's this one? All right, let's check this out. I mean, I like this. I'm sorry. I like brass in a rock band. I think it's a really cool sound, man. All right. Well, what's he singing here? Oh, here he is. Okay. He's so cool. I'm sorry. I just think he's so cool. All right. Let's see what else. So that's Ride, Captain Ride. Of course, that's a hit song that we all know. Rolling Stone is reporting David Clayton Thomas, Blood, Sweat, and Tears singer, dead at 84. A memorial concert is now in the works for the vocalist who sang You've Made Me So, and many others is currently in the works. So maybe there'll be a nice tribute to him. All right, here, how about this one? We'll try this one. Here's another Blood, Sweat, and Tears. They were really a unique sounding band. Here, let's check this one out. Oh, yeah, here, this one was a big hit. He's just a dude with a voice and a style.
I'm not scared of dying, and I don't really care.
This is crooning. This is a style of rock and roll singing that we don't really have much anymore. This guy is doing Bobby Darin. That's what's going on right now.
If it's peace you find in dying, well then let the time be near. If it's peace you find in dying, and if dying time is near, bundle up my coffin, 'cause it's cold way down there. I hear that it's cold way down there. Yeah, crazy cold way down there. And when I die, when I'm gone, there'll be one child born in this world to carry on, to
All right, there he goes. David Clayton Thomas. He was cool, man. Shunned the spotlight, moved back to Toronto. He could play big concerts whenever he wanted. Up in Canada, he's like a superstar. He's like Bruce Springsteen in Canada. He's dead. 84 years old. David Clayton Thomas, British Canadian Hall of Famer, singer, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, songwriter, spinning wheel. What goes up must come down. Truly unique band, truly unique singer, just a cool guy. David Clayton Thomas. He begins the 23rd Death Trilogy of 2026. We'll see who he lives with forever. Would have been kind of cool if we could have fit David Clayton Thomas in with, James Burrows and Clive Davis, but old Alan Greenspan had to die and ruin that whole thing. All right, let's keep going here. Let's see. Death Trilogy updates. We've done that. Now let's move on to... let's do 3 vids. All right, every day we like to do 3 videos, just 3 little pieces of video that I've culled from the internet. And we like to just show a little spotlight and comment on them. Okay, how about some deflecting pool nonsense? Here we go. So yesterday I told you about how the park police there in Washington, D.C. are now arresting, and Gene Pirro is promising to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law anybody who does the American thing of just dropping your hand. Here, look at this. Look at this. I told you I did this. I told you that everybody does this. Here are a couple of little terrorists. Look at these little terrorists. Cops doing nothing. Let's watch. Why aren't those kids in handcuffs? That vandalism. See, this is the problem with the libs. They will utilize children or midgets craftily disguised as children, which I think this might be. And they are completely duping this wonderfully patriotic park cop. Is this park cop intentionally not looking at them? Is that what's going on? Like, is this park cop a guy who is probably a pretty decent dude, and he knows that this is all freaking madness and that his job requires him now to go and kick this lovely young mother, seemingly, and her 2 kids away from the reflecting pool, and he doesn't want to do that, so he's just going to turn his back? Is that what's happening here? I don't know, but I do love that he's not hassling. He's not looking. He's not. He's just like, I didn't see it. I didn't hear it. I didn't hear the kids splashing. Terrorism takes many shapes, folks. All right, there you go. The deflecting pool is still a story. All right, what else do we have here? Second video. Oh yeah, okay. Here, this video. This is, well, okay, kind of dark. I don't like to do dark videos. I don't like to do dark videos here in our 3 video segment, but I'll show you this one because it's going around and it's weird. So apparently a little twin engine plane crashed into the tallest building in China. Now I've looked for it. I don't have any video of the plane actually hitting, but or do we? Is this the plane here? No, because these are already pieces of the plane that are falling, right? All right, so yeah, that is the actual plane, but it had already hit. So apparently a little plane hit a very large building in Beijing, China today, and it bounced right off it, and everybody's dead. Look at that. They're dead. Not much you can do there. Cool building. Cool ass Chinese building. All right, there you have it. Good times. Good times. Some people online are saying it was a terror attack. Other people online are saying, nope, just an accident. I don't know. I don't care. All right. The last video that we're going to show here in our 3 video segment is a new show. It's a trailer for a new show that is popping up tonight on HBO Max. And I've been waiting for this show because it looks very funny. Now, I think I'm going to watch the first episode. I think my son and I will watch the first episode tonight. And then I will ignore the series until it's over, and then I will binge watch the rest of it. Coming to HBO or Max or HBO Max or HBO Now or HBO Go or whatever the hell they're calling themselves these days. Tonight, Life, Larry, and the Pursuit of Happiness. That's right. Larry David of Curb Your Enthusiasm. He's got the whole... hold on. He went and got the Curb Your Enthusiasm group together, and he decided that in honor of America's 250th birthday, he would create a new series that delves into great moments in American history, as performed by his actor friends and, the people who put together Curb Your Enthusiasm. The show, Life, Larry, and the Pursuit of Unhappiness, excuse me, I think I said happiness. It's Life, Larry, and the Pursuit of Unhappiness, puts Larry David in historical situations from around from American history, and fills key roles with famous actors. And it's done exactly the way Curb Your Enthusiasm was, which is to say that the actors show up, they are giving the construct of a scene. Okay, you're Benjamin Franklin and you're in a bar in Philadelphia, and Larry David is Thomas Jefferson, and you guys really don't like each other, but you're trying to let on that you're cool with each other. And go. No scripts, right? It's all just outlines, and we understand what the characters are supposed to be. Very little scripted lines, but then we just go. That's how Curb Your Enthusiasm was made. That's why that show is so funny. It is the height of talented people doing high-level improv in a story form. It's just fantastic. So that's what they're doing here with the new HBO Max series, Life, Larry, and the Pursuit of Unhappiness. Larry David looks into great moments in American history. Here, this is, I'm sorry. I thought it was sharing. I'm such a bag of wind. I just start talking and I lose track of where I am. All right, this looks to be like the Wright brothers, but let's watch. That's one of the things that they really heavily promoted. Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld team up together to play Lewis and Clark. So that scene was Lewis and Clark getting ready to go on their little adventure. All right, there you have it. New HBO tonight. HBO Max now, maybe. Life, Larry, and the Pursuit of Unhappiness. If you like Curb, as I do, it looks very funny. Okay, let's end today's show with, what else should we do? Can't Be Fun at the Old Ballpark, or as we call it, CBFA, TOBP. That's right, Can't Be Fun at the Old Ballpark. Every day I like to share a little something that happened at a game. This one's fun, and again, this one concerns my team, although it's a national story, and it's being done by John Boy, who is a national media baseball guy. So Tariq Skubal is I'm trying to think of, like, if I could get one pitcher from anywhere, who would I want? And I think it's Mizorowski, but Skubal would be a good one. And there is rumors that Tariq Skubal, who is the ace of the Detroit Tigers, might be available for trade and all that stuff. And the White Sox are one of the teams that have been rumored to be very much in on any kind of Tariq Skubal situation. So the White Sox played the Dodgers last weekend, and Tariq Skubal started one game. And I've told you about Mike Vassell, who is an injured pitcher on the White Sox, who instead of going away for the year, he's out for the year, Tommy John surgery. He has sort of taken a place in the dugout, and he is sort of like the mascot, Mike Vassell. He calls himself the Wizard. He hits people with wands. He's got a big crazy hat. Okay, anyway, Tariq Skubal's on the mound against the White Sox. He pitches out of a really, really bad situation. It was bases loaded in a 2-2 game. Skubal pitches out of it. Of course he does, because he's really good. And as he's exiting the mound, and as they're going to commercial break, as baseball games do, you see Skubal screaming at the White Sox dugout as he makes his way into the Tigers dugout. Come back from commercial break, and now they're showing us. They're like, oh, when we went to commercial break, you should have seen this. Well, there was a big fight, not a fist fight, but a screaming match that went on between Tariq Skubal and the White Sox Wizard in the dugout. That's Mike Vassell. He's the White Sox Wizard. That's what we call him. You know, you could say he doesn't belong there. He's like, oh, no players that go on season-ending, injury list, hang out and suit up and spend time. Well, we do. We like him. He is a great source of energy and rah-rah in that dugout, and everybody loves that we have Vassell there. However, maybe Tariq Skubal didn't appreciate some of the energy that Vassell was bringing, and that could be what was behind the argument as Tariq Skubal walked off the mound. Now, We've got video of it. And John Boy, who is incredible. If you like baseball, you should follow John Boy Media, or just John Boy himself. They're on Twitter. He does the best baseball breakdowns of anybody. Certainly the most, maybe not the most accurate, but they are certainly the most entertaining. And he did a breakdown of the fight that I just described to you. Again, between Tariq Skubal, the ace pitcher for the Tigers, who is rumored to possibly be going to the White Sox soon in a trade deal, which is why it's interesting that he's fighting with the whole team, maybe trying to put those rumors to bed. Here's John Boy. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark. This is the exchange, lip reading and dubbing of what they were saying to each other. And if you love baseball, this is baseball fun, because as we say here, you can't beat fun at the old ballpark.
Keep fucking doing that. Keep doing it. Keep fucking talking. Fucking crazy. Whoa, what was all that about? Let's get into it. This one's brought to you by Under Armour. Still one more out to go. Bases are juiced. Strike one on the ball high. That's a nice start. Batter doesn't tap. Maybe they're out of challenges. Right down the middle. Strike two. He goes to the changeup low. He's going to go back to the changeup. Gets the swing and miss. Yeah. Then he points, says, fuck, you're going to fucking get it. I have the hot mic there. We can include it at the end if you want. And he points, and in the dugout, they're like, whoa, me? Yeah.
All right, that's the guy who's like, me? That's Mike Vassell. You have to understand that he is just a goof. He is just silly.
You. Who are you talking to? Huh? Who are you talking? Fuck you. Yeah, keep doing that shit. Hot mic there as well. Loud as loud.
All right, so keep doing that shit refers to Mike Vassell standing in the dugout with a wand pointing it at Tariq Skubal. That's what Vassell was doing. He was during that pitching exchange that Tariq Skubal won because he's great. Vassell was over in the White Sox dugout putting the wand mafugi on Tariq Skubal. So that's what Tariq Skubal's mad about.
Loud and clear. Yeah. Huh? Who are you talking? Fuck you. Yeah, keep doing that shit. Hot mic there as well. Loud and clear. Keep doing that shit. Keep doing what? What's he talking about? He's not doing anything. What are you talking about? Huh? What? Fuck you, you dumb bitch. Skubal hears that, and he's like, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Fuck you. No, fuck you. Who are you talking to right now? Huh? Sit your fucking ass down. Oh, yeah? Keep fucking doing that. Keep doing it, motherfucker. Who? Fucking pussy. Oh, no. Nobody's talking shit. Nobody's talking shit. Keep fucking talking. Fucking crazy. So what was he doing?
Yeah.
Except saying, keep doing that shit. Skubal thinks he's doing something. That's Vassell.
Yeah.
He's a pitcher on
the... So he's got the hat. This is what he's doing. He's got the hat on and he's pointing the wand at Tariq Skubal. And it's nonsense. He doesn't have magical powers. He's not really putting the mafugi on him.
The injured list for the White Sox. He's kind of doing something. That's Vassell. He's a pitcher on the injured list for the White Sox. He's kind of the vibes and hype guy in the dugout. He's got a magic wand. He likes to have fun. Now he's getting jawed at, getting cussed out by Skubal. The reporter asked him, do you think he was mad at you about tipping pitches?
Team and do everything I can do.
You about relaying signs? Yeah, I mean, I've said I'm always going to help the team and do whatever I can to do it and be with the batter in the box. So, okay.
And, I think we've seen far worse things before in the games.
He's doing it legally. It is legal to do that. However, he's doing it. Maybe he's just being too obvious.
So, if we're going to be that paranoid about it, it's just part of the game.
So it seems like Vassell was giving away location or pitches to the batters. This breakdown's brought to you by Under Armour.
All right, there you have it. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark. That was from last weekend. We got the Royals this weekend. Got a big game tonight. Celebrating the '83 White Sox tomorrow. That's right in my wheelhouse. That's these guys right here. That's that uni. All right, folks, that's going to do it. One more time, I do want to thank the people who have supported this show, even during this last couple of weeks that have been so rough and so difficult for us. I want to thank you, Jen. I want to thank you, Leslie, Tracy, Peter. Where's Peter? Did Peter show up? I miss Peter. Barney, thank you, brother. You're the best. Mama B, Heidi, always thank you, Heidi. And April. You folks, you dug in and you helped to ensure that this show could at least sporadically appear the way it does. Thank you for that. If you want to join them and help out the show as we continue through our darkest era, we definitely need help. Anything you can do would be great right now. Monday, I'm going to look. If I'm here, I'm going to do shows. I'm not trying to hold anything hostage, but obviously there are other things that I've got to do here. Summer's getting a little tight. The noose is getting tight. I can't breathe. Thank you, everybody. Have yourself a great weekend. My son and I are going to, it's supposed to rain. Let's see what's going on here. Where are we at right now? Remember I told you yesterday about the crazy weather? It is 68 degrees. It is 68 degrees on the south side of Chicago. Now, I'm not complaining because 68 degrees is pretty okay. That's pretty okay. You can wear shorts. Maybe you want a sweater, but whatever. 68 degrees is pretty okay. I would like it to be 78. Can we go up at least 10 more? 78 is perfect. Windows open, no air conditioning. You can go outside and do whatever you want. 78 is perfect. We got rain coming, though. Although it says light rain. Light rain. All right, light rain, not a big problem. It is 68 degrees. Why does this have any bearing on my plans? Cross the street. Man, I've never had this experience before. Cross the street. I tell you, I live here at the studios where I'm living. It's a house where I'm living, but there's studios in the house. I tell you about how across the street is a giant community athletic field and complex, and it's adjacent to a high school, two high schools actually on the same street, one Catholic, one public. So we've got this big giant complex right across the street. I love it. I walk. My son and I went and watched Little League a couple of days ago. There's like a big Little League tournament going on, like 50 yards from our front door. So we just walk over and we're watching Little League. Need to run home, get something, to drink, or you want to get something to eat, you just run across the street. Anyway, it's really convenient. I've never lived in an area like this where there was something so close. There's a carnival. We got a carnival over there. It's like, I don't know, week before 4th of July fest around here. I don't know what they're calling it. We got a big fireworks that are going to happen. Apparently, we can just sit on our front stoop and watch fireworks. Don't have to get a blanket. Don't have to get in a car. Don't have to go find a place to park. Apparently, we can just sit out in the front lawn. Watch fireworks happening right across the street. So that'll be fun. But there's a carnival. And I'm going to go to we're going to the carnival tonight, me and Mason. We're just going to walk on over there, which is crazy. Never been to a carnival that I didn't have to drive to. I don't know that I like living in such close proximity to a carnival. I do know this. When I'm falling asleep at night, the carnivals, I can see the lights in the window, right out the window. There you go. They don't turn them lights off. That Ferris wheel or tilt-a-whirl thing, that light was on all night. Anyway, that's what we're doing tonight. I hope you guys have a good weekend. We're going to have fun. Stupid carnival money. I don't know how much I'm going to spend at this carnival. How much are carnivals are money grabs too? By the way, did you hear about, I'm not riding anything, okay? So I'm expecting that, money will be spent at the carnival tonight on games. And not even me, the kid, kid's got to play stuff. So it'll be on games and ridiculously overpriced, like elephant ears, right? Which brings me to something I wanted to mention. Did you see the pricing menu at the Great American Festival that's going on right now in the mall? My God. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything different. And this has nothing to do with, Trump or the people who put this thing on. This is just what things cost when we go places. Like there's a pretzel costs $20. Like if you want a pretzel, if you're at this Great American Port Picnic or whatever the hell it is, I don't know. If you're at this, if you're wanting to see Kash Patel's girlfriend headline the event, and you decide that you need a pretzel, $20. Or like sodas are like $12. Like if you want a Pepsi, it's $12. And I said Pepsi specifically because that's what the article said. And I'm like, Pepsi must have gotten the contract. Anyway, why does everything have to be so expensive? Why does everything that? How do you justify selling 20 ounces of soda for like $12? How do you justify that? Without just going, well, it's a grift. You're here and you're thirsty and we gotcha. I don't know. It's capitalism. I'm sorry. It's American style capitalism. Fuck everybody. Get yours when you can. That's why we can't go to a baseball game without $15 beers. Everything is run for a profit. Not this show. That's for damn sure. This show is not run for a profit. All right, I love you guys. I want you to have fun this weekend. I want you to don't prematurely blow off any fingers, okay? Just wait till next weekend to do the fireworks and all that stuff. And then, come back with your bandaged hand. I didn't throw the M80 quick enough. Be careful. And above all else, as I always like to remind you folks here, tip the show, but also stay neighborly. Be cool with each other. We'll see you back here on Monday.